Hi everybody, it's Brad with the Big Family Homestead, and well, yes, I am a disheveled mess. I am glad we don't have smell-o-vision because you wouldn't want to be in the room with me. But I was out in the garden and in the yard and I had this idea. I had, well, a micro epiphany, and I came up with an analogy that I want to share with you. And so, well, here we go. So this morning, I was out in the yard, weed whacking, lawn maintenance, going into the garden, pulling out the weeds, getting through all kinds of stuff. And check this out. It's funny because I rushed inside because I wanted not to forget what I was going to tell you. Well, let's just say I'll clean up my grass trail on the way after the video's over. I'll clean it up, but yeah, Mama's still outside milking the goat, so I think I can get away with it. Anyway, here's the scoop. Actually, before I get really into the meat of this video, you have to know, going in advance, this is an analogy. This is actually a gardening video, believe it or not. It's an analogy gardening video. So here's the thing. All of you folks who are politically charged and you have an R in front of your name or a D in front of your name or an L in front of your name, or you support anybody who does that, or you don't support anybody at all. This is not about that. So don't get your hackles up. Don't think that I'm supporting one candidate or another candidate or no candidate, because I'm not. So please watch this video in its entirety, because I already feel like there's 5 people that already clicked thumbs down and you didn't even hear what I had to say. Well, and that's actually a kind of a side thing. There's a few of you out there, I know who you are, who automatically just go through the videos and thumbs down them. Just so you know, it doesn't really bother me. It's just funny that you would waste your time like that. Anyway, so going back, this is not about R, D, L in front of your name, endorsing anybody, not endorsing anybody. But here's the scoop. In the past, 60, 80 years, it's clear that there has been a shift in the way that we are governed and the way that we allow ourselves to be governed. More and more liberties are being taken away from the people and made into, I don't know, what would you call them, privileges. Or you get taxed for this, or all of a sudden something is regulated in a way that, takes your liberty away, whether it's one little thing or the next. For example, there's people that cannot harvest rainwater. It's illegal. I'm like, what? That is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Who controls the rain? Anyway. Or those who can't have a garden, or those who are not allowed to have chickens in their backyard, or whatever. Take any number of things, and then you can make it on the macro level if you go up to big federal level stuff. So a shift has happened. And what used to be a system of checks and balances, which was set up by our founding fathers to make sure that this side of government didn't get out of whack. They were supposed to be policing each other. Checks and balances. But somewhere along the way, crony capitalism, buddy deals, backroom deals started happening, and they started working with each other, and it did not matter if you had an R or a D or an L or a nothing in your name. They would pretend to act like they didn't like each other, but ultimately they were really keeping themselves in power. Now, back to gardening. I was out in the garden this morning, and I'm pulling weeds, and then it just hit me. I'm looking at my garden, and I'm not super happy with my garden, but I'm not upset with my garden. And I started thinking, well, why is my garden going to either produce or not produce? And so I started thinking, okay, well, what does a garden need, right? A garden needs sun, soil, nutrients, it needs water, and it needs to be tended, right? Well, I started drawing a parallel into the way that we are governed and what has been happening in our system of government, and I think that we are getting overrun with a bunch of weeds. And what do weeds do, guys, in a garden? Well, a weed comes up, it steals nutrients from all the other plants that you intended to be there, those plants that you wanted to produce a harvest. Those weeds will come up and they'll infiltrate, and they will literally consume the garden. And what does it do to the plants that are supposed to be producing? Well, it chokes them off, takes away their light, takes away the oxygen flow, and depletes the nutrients in the ground. And ultimately, if you even get a harvest, it's weak, emaciated, and nasty and disgusting, and you'll have all kinds of problems with your fruit. You could have, any number of things. So I started thinking, well, geez, there's a whole lot of weeds that have grown up in our political system. People get away with murder. People get away with high treason. People get away with, I don't know, any number of crimes. As long as you're in the ruling class, as long as you're up here, as you're one of them, you're not held by the same standard of accountability. Yet, you make your living, you make all your money off of the people that are producing. I'd call that a weed. Once again, this doesn't have anything to do with an R or a D or an L. But I'd have to say, guys, I feel like it's time that we, who are supposed to be tending the garden, get our hands dirty and start weeding. Now, what does that mean for you? I don't know, because I'm not here to push my agenda on you and say you have to think exactly the way that I do. What I'm saying is that whatever your agenda is, I am generally, no, not generally, not even close. We're a Christian family and we're extremely conservative, so those are my views, but I don't feel like I cram them down your throats. And I know that there are people who've reached out to me and said thank you for not doing so, and they still like the channel anyway. And so for that, I say thank you. We got to be able to hear each other, and we've got to be able to decide whether or not, I can't hear that opinion, oh my gosh, I need a safe space. Safe space, my butt. Anyway, if you can't take it, then you probably didn't have a very firm, thought, coherent opinion in the first place. But the point is this, whatever your agenda is, how are you going to get involved? It's clear that these people do not think of us as anything more than cattle or sheep or, a garden that they can suckle off of, that they can take nutrients from. So maybe it's you call your congressman. Maybe it's you get a YouTube channel and start voicing your opinion. Maybe it's that you actually get out there and find those things, those touchstones, those push buttons that really get you fired up and you get involved. Maybe you start actively trying to get some of these weeds pulled out of the garden that have been there forever. Anyway, sorry to get heavy with you guys a little bit, but I've been weeding, and I think it's time that more of us start. Brad with the Big Family Homestead, you guys have an amazing day. I'm going to go take a shower and get less stinky. Bye.